What's up, my fellow Michiganians, Michiganders, whatever you happen to call yourselves? Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk, and today was a big day in the NHL and a big day for our Detroit Red Wings. So, Steve Yzerman decided to go grocery shopping today, and he got us 5 new players. And after the signings, I have to say, I'm pretty pleased. I'm happy. I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic or jumping for joy like we won the Stanley Cup. I wouldn't say I'm upset or mad or even, this was alright. I'm happy. I would say a solid 7.5 out of 10, maybe 8. Pretty good day for the Detroit Red Wings. The roster got significantly better. So to recap, the Red Wings got 5 guys. The first guy they got was Ali Mata for a 1-year, $2.25 million deal. So he was basically a third-line defenseman for Pittsburgh. Not really a big splash, but definitely should help this team that desperately needs some depth at the defense position. Then they went ahead and signed Andrew Kopp for the biggest deal of the day for a 5-year, $28 million deal. Kopp is a center. They went ahead and signed David Perrin, who previously played with the Blues at left wing, for a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. Then they went ahead and signed defenseman Ben Sharat for a 4-year, $19 million deal. And then for their last signing of the day, they signed Dominic Klubiak to a 2-year, $5 million deal. And all 5 of these guys, I can tell you right now, make this roster significantly better. I think that of all these signings, the best one was Klubiak. You know, in terms of upside, pretty much got him for a pretty low price. He's already proven that he can be a 30, 40-point guy at the wing. And that's a position that looks very deep for the Red Wings this season and for the upcoming future. So I like that signing from Yzerman. And then David Perrin was our biggest splash of the day. You know, getting a veteran winger on there definitely helps. And Perrin last season scored 70 points, which is pretty darn good. He's a 60, 70-point guy. He could be a first or second team winger, so that's definitely a good thing. Even though he's 34 years old, it's very unlikely that the drop off from 34 to 35 will be very big. So he's still a very solid player and should be a great help to this team. Andrew Kopp, definitely a big splash. Should be a great center addition to this team. You know, with Perrin, you're signing him because of what he did in the past, you know, in the recent past. With Andrew Kopp, you're signing him because what you hope he can do in the future. You're signing him for the future. And based off what he did last season and the past few years, I can't say I'm against it. He's shown great ability, and I think he scored 18 points in 16 games to end last season. Guy with a lot of potential, and I'm very excited to have him on this roster to back up Larkin. So the forward positions all look great for the Red Wings. Should be one of the strongest in the league. You know, you got your first line wingers, you know, Larkin, Perrin, and Raymond. That already is really good. Full of youth, experience, veteran ability, and elite play. Second line, you got Kopp, Vrana, and Bertuzzi. That would be a starting line on almost every NHL roster. So kudos to Steve Yzerman really building this up. And then you got Klubiak on the third line. Front ice looks really good this season for the Red Wings. Now on the other side. This is the signing that a lot of people didn't like. And I'm not going to lie to you. I liked this signing immediately. But after some thought, I don't think it was great. But still, I can't say I'm upset. And I think this makes some sense. Signing Ben Sharat to that 4-year, $19 million deal. Are we overpaying for him? Absolutely. There's zero question about that. And he's a good defenseman, but he's not elite. And would likely be a second liner on most teams, maybe a third. But I will say this. Does he fill a need that was desperately needed by this roster? And does he make this team significantly better? And the answer to both those questions, absolutely. I said in the last video about the Wings, you know, the defenseman position is very weak right now. And there's a lot of pressure on Edvinsson when he comes up to be a high-level performer. Now I think you take a little bit off his shoulders by making this signing. You know, Ben Sharat should be a nice filler player for a few years. But here's the big thing. Seider and Hronek are offensive defensemen. And what I mean by that is, that sounds like an oxymoron. but they're not the biggest guy. Sider is, but Hronik is not a very big defenseman. Only 6 foot, 180 pounds. They're not going to be bruisers. They're not going to be someone you're intimidated by when you cross by the blue line. Maybe Sider is, but he still needs to develop that part of his game. Sharat is that player. Sharat is a defensive defenseman. When you come up the ice, Sharat will give you a nice little shot. Sharat with the shot. I like that. And not the shot towards the net, the shot towards the other player. He's an instigator. He's a fighter. He's extremely physical. And even if we paid a little premium for it, it filled a need that was desperately, desperately, desperately needed to be filled by the Red Wings. So I give it a B minus, C plus signing. But I think that it makes this team significantly better, and I'm happy with the roster improvements. Now, with $11 million left in cap space, I don't know what Steve Yzerman should do. Should he sign Kleinberg and pretty much get a first liner right there? Then your defenseman position looks great for the first 3 lines at least. Or do you just settle for what you have and save some of that money up for free agency the next few years? So here's the thing. The Red Wings are going to have to get Larkin a contract extension. And, they're going to have decisions to make with Bertuzzi, Adam Erne, and Nedeljkovic. And then a couple of years down the road, obviously, I don't think there's any question, they're going to be re-signing Raymond and Sider, and to pretty big deals. Even with all that, though, I still think this team will have some space. So assuming they keep the roster right now, and I did some projections, assuming that they re-sign all the players I mentioned, they'll have $19 million of cap space in 23 and 24. And then the year after that, 24-25, they'll have $10 million. So still in pretty good shape for the cap. The question is, with the $11 million that you have, do you sign Kleinberg, who is by far the best defenseman in this free agent class, and then take away some of that free agent flexibility? So that would mean after you re-sign your core players, you can't really make a whole lot of additions in a couple of years. So do you take him now? Or do you punt on him, keep the $11 million, and then next year, you have $19 million, and the year after that, you have $10 million. If Steve Yzerman likes the free agent class, 2 or 3 years down the road, then it might make sense to punt on someone that's demanding, 8 years, likely $9 to $10 million. And as great as Klubiak is, or Kleinberg, sorry, as great as Kleinberg is, I'm not really sure Steve Yzerman wants to do that right now. Sharat was already an oversigning, and I'm not sure you want to make another, even for a guy as good as Kleinberg. So I think you stick with the roster that you have right now at this point, and you see what defensemen are available next year, because this is still a little bit of a project. But the good news is this team should be able to compete for the playoffs next season. I don't think there's any question about that. This roster looks a lot better than last year, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it kind of is. In 1 year, we've made a lot of great moves, and health is going to be the big thing, determining if we can get to that 85, 90 point mark by the end of the season. Then 2 to 3 years down the road, you make those key additions. This could be a team hosting playoff games. So it's still a 2 to 3 year project, but still, this team is not very far off. And today, the Red Wings took a big step forward and have shown that they're becoming serious about making the playoffs, and that this rebuild is over. Now it's about building. The Red Wings hit rock bottom, and they're trending upward, and it's going to be that way for the next 2 to 3 years. Today they took a big step forward, so I'm happy. We didn't get the splash signing, we didn't get Gaudreau. We're probably not going to get Kleinberg, but you know what? I'm very happy with this free agent class. And don't forget about Husso as well in the goaltender position. Red Wings went from, I believe, a C roster to a B roster. Next year they could go from a B to a B plus. They could get to an A, based off, how deep they are at all 4 at all 4 lines. then we can talk about Stanley Cups again. So I'm very excited. Little Caesars Arena will be rocking next year. Thank you all for watching. Go Red Wings, and you all have a good night.